Hi everyone, it's Alyssa, and today I want to do the top 5 most undervalued Ryan Gosling performances, all in anticipation of the release of Blade Runner 2049 coming out this Friday, October 6th, and then go over the Blu-ray releases for October 3rd so that you guys know what is coming out. So first I want to define undervalued. So what I mean by that is that the movie didn't make a lot of money. A lot of these films got great critical reviews, but they may not have received the attention from audiences that they really deserve. So this might give you guys a chance to go back and look at some of the movies that Ryan Gosling has made, just to see what an incredible actor he really is. I know he's very famous and he's very popular, but at the same time, I sort of think he's underrated as an actor. He has such a great broad range of characters. He's incredible at comedy and drama, vulnerability. The only thing he isn't so great at, only because I've never seen him do it, would be like period pieces and accents. I've never seen that from him. So, you know, maybe one day we'll get him as Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights. I don't know. I want to do 2 bonus and then I'll give you my top 5. So bonus number 1, he's not actually in, but he wrote and directed Lost River, and I think this is both an underrated and undervalued movie. It did horribly. Basically it was booed at Cannes, and I think it was treated rather unfairly, and it was sort of like the reception it got at Cannes, which was so negative, affected the way it was released in America. But American audiences don't always understand that. That's kind of the way people react at the Cannes Film Festival. Some people will boo and throw things at the screen. They'll give a lot of standing ovations. So it's a very extreme film festival. And so this movie has that same kind of tone and feeling. It's like David Lynch or Nicholas Winding Refn, and it's about the housing crisis in Detroit, but it's not told in a traditional way. So it really is a fairy tale. It's a fantasy. It's very fantastical, and it's very interesting looking. It's a very bold first attempt at a feature-length film. So it's about a single mom who basically goes into this underground club, which is a very strange club, to try to make money to keep her family afloat, so to speak. And then her son is sort of in search of this lost city that's underneath a river, and it becomes like this whole journey for him, and it really is just a fairy tale. And while the movie's not perfect, I really think that it's much better than people give it credit for. And I would say to watch it just for the beautiful cinematography. There are certain shots that I'm never going to forget in my life. There's certain really strange dancing sequences that I'm never going to forget in my life. So it's different, and I think that's a good thing. And I think he tried to like hit it out of the park, and maybe it didn't succeed 100%, but it's a lot better than most people give it credit for. All right. Next bonus movie, and this one he's actually in, I promise. So, The Place Beyond the Pines. Now this movie, I'm not sure if I would consider this undervalued, which is why I put it as a bonus. It made like $28 million. It's directed by Derek Cianfrance, but this film is absolutely epic in scope. So it's 3 different parts from 3 different perspectives, and it's all about the relationships between fathers and sons, and how the sins of our father will also often affect who we are in later generations. And so Ryan Gosling gets the first section of the film, and he plays Luke, who is this motorcycle stuntman. He's incredible, and he starts to take those skills and use them for bank robberies. And while this character is very strong, we get so much vulnerability from him, and the relationship he has with Eva Mendes is really beautiful. And I always say this about his acting style: he makes the actresses he works with better actresses. They're always better when he's in the shot, and to me that's a key of how great of an actor he is. He makes people feel really comfortable, and he gives them something to react to that's really natural. So I don't usually like Eva Mendes always in movies, but I thought her performance in this was outstanding. So he has a lot of vulnerability, even though he is this tough guy. The character sets the tone for the rest of the film. Everything really is centered around him, and Luke is one of my favorite characters that he's played. So now we'll start the actual list. Coming in at number 5 is Song to Song, a movie I know people are going to disagree with me about. So this was one of the movies that did not get any kind of critical praise. I actually did, this was my first review that I ever did, which I'll link right up here, but Ryan Gosling plays BV, and I think his character is so interesting. He almost personifies love and goodness and understanding and acceptance. But he definitely goes through a journey, and one of my favorite parts of the journey that character goes through is the relationship he has with his father, and the moment he has with his father when he's sick and dying. And this is not a traditional movie. It doesn't have a traditional plot. It's abstract in every way. It's Terrence Malick. So if you're not prepared for that kind of thing, then I might steer clear, although I think this movie is just beautiful to watch. It sort of looks like poetry right in front of your face, and the character is very interesting, and the whole cast is very diverse, and there's a lot of biblical allusions, and there's a lot of symbolism in the film. I just think a lot of people didn't really give this film a shot. This movie made the least amount of money as any on this list, with under $500,000, which is just abysmal considering the cast of actors and the director being Terrence Malick. Okay, coming in at number 4 is The Believer, and this is one of the first films I ever saw with Ryan Gosling. This is what made me love him so much. He plays Danny, who is a member of the KKK. He's a white supremacist, but he's also Jewish. And this is a true story, and this person was uncovered by the New York Times, and they did an expose on this, white supremacist who's also Jewish. Now, this is a role where you're definitely not going to like him necessarily, especially in the beginning. He plays such a tough character, and there really is no likability with him. But as the film moves forward, you really do see that the character starts to see beauty in his heritage and in the religion and some of the terrorist actions that he's planning on doing. He starts to doubt himself, so we definitely see character development. He's so young in this movie, and you can just see such raw talent. If you haven't seen this, this is really the perfect introduction into seeing why Ryan Gosling, he's not just a heartthrob, which is what I think so many people think he is, but he's done so few films that fall into that category. Really just The Notebook, Crazy Stupid Love, maybe La La Land, maybe, but that's still pretty artistic. But this movie is more difficult to watch, but I do recommend you watching it. All right, coming in at number 3 is Lars and the Real Girl. And this is such a sweet movie. There's no other word to describe it but sweet. But the plot is very, very weird, so bear with me when I say it. Lars is a character who is antisocial. He doesn't even like talking with his brother. He's so depressed because his parents died when he was a child, so he's never really grown out of childhood. He kind of acts like a kid still. So one day he goes online and he buys one of those like true to size sex dolls. But instead of using it for what you would think he'd use it for, he actually uses the doll as companionship, and he starts talking to the doll. He thinks that she's a real person. He falls in love with Bianca. That's what he names her. And he tells her all of his secrets, and it helps him to move forward and get past his parents' death. That might sound strange, but it's really quite beautiful. And what makes it even more beautiful is the fact that the whole town, the whole community, they come together and they start to help Lars, and they start to act like Bianca is a real person, because they think if they just kind of go along with this with him, then maybe he'll be able to break through and go back to being himself and find love with a real human being. So it's almost maybe a little bit Pollyanna in its look of community and how community really can help to heal people, but it's a beautiful performance. He starts off so disconnected and he gained something like 20 or 30 pounds for this. And he goes through the film and he has changes, but they're always so subtle. There's never anything that's drastic about this character, and I think that's so true to life. All right, coming in at number 2. Now this was really hard. The 2 and the 1, you could just, to me, you could switch on almost any day. So this time I put Half Nelson as number 2. This movie, there is nothing that I dislike about it. So this is about a history teacher in middle school in the inner city, and he spends his days really helping his students, motivating them, but at night he's actually a crack addict. So he has this huge drug problem, but the way the film presents it is that this character, he's almost too emotional and in touch with himself, and he doesn't really make connections with other people because those people don't allow themselves to make connections with him, so he ends up doing drugs. There's one great scene with his family where they're just always talking over him and they're not actually ever listening to what he's saying. The character is so complex. He develops a relationship with one of his students, not in a creepy way, actually as a mentor, but yet even though he's this mentor, he's a drug addict, and this girl actually has connections to drug dealing, and this all comes to a head at the end of the film. But this is a beautiful movie about redemption. His performance is out of this world. He plays Dan Dunn. He did get an Academy Award nomination for this, so this is one of his 2 nominations that he's ever gotten. Kevin Smith calls this movie the best movie of the decade that came out, and I'd have to agree that this is one of the best films I've ever seen in my life. It's one of my top 3 favorite movies, and the soundtrack's incredible. It's Broken Social Scene, and that's one of my favorite bands, so just everything about this movie feels like something I would love, and I really honestly could not recommend it more. So coming in at number 1 is Blue Valentine. I am still not over the fact that he did not get nominated for Best Actor for this film, and Michelle Williams did. This is truly one of his strongest performances. It's also directed by Derek Cianfrance. Here he plays Dean, and we go back and forth in time with when a couple first met each other and falls in love, and then at the end of their relationship. So you just keep going back and forth in these 2 time periods, so you can kind of see the disintegration of their love. It's incredibly depressing at times, often very difficult to watch. The ending scene with Michelle and Cindy makes me cry every single time I see it. I see traces of Marlon Brando in his performance, especially when he's the older version of Dean, and here he's gained a ton of weight. They shave his head, it looks like he's balding, and there's just so much range in this performance, and it starts out and he's young and optimistic and truly charming in every way, and then you see just what happens to people when they get older. They're maybe just a little bit lesser of a version of themselves, and maybe they didn't do everything they want to do in their life, and you know, his wife is upset with him for not reaching his potential, and he's happy where he is because he has a family, he has a daughter, and he feels that's all he needs. This performance really is heartbreaking. It understands relationships. The movie really understands relationships, and it's incredibly realistic feeling. So I saw this twice in the movie theater, and the second time I saw it, someone actually walked out of the movie theater during one of the scenes, and I thought that was very interesting. But that's when you know you have a good film, when you're making people so angry, right, that they need to leave the movie theater. And I really still can't believe that he did not get a nomination for an Academy Award for this. I really actually think the Academy, they hate him, even though that he'll get nominated sometimes, but I don't know, I shouldn't talk about it anymore because it gets me really angry. So those are my top most undervalued movies for Ryan Gosling. So the 2 bonuses we have are Lost River and Place Beyond the Pines, and then number 5 we have I forgot for a second. Song to Song coming in at number 4. We have The Believer. Number 3, Lars and the Real Girl. Number 2, Half Nelson. And number 1, Blue Valentine. I do believe you can watch Half Nelson right now on Netflix. So if you've never seen it, you should definitely watch it. Alright, so now I'm going to switch over to the Blu-ray releases that are coming out for October 3rd. So the first one we have is Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. This is supposed to be a return to what the original Pirates kind of felt like. So it's Johnny Depp, it's Javier Bardem, and Jeffrey Rush. And I know quite a few people that saw it and they said it was perfectly enjoyable. So it's probably a good pick if you like the first one. The Book of Henry is also coming out, and that stars Naomi Watts, Jacob Tremblay, and hi Frankie, Justin Lieber. So that's why the camera is shaking right now. Sorry. And this is a film that kind of looks like a horror movie when you see the trailer, but actually I don't know if it is. So Naomi Watts is a single mother. She's raising 2 sons, and the 2 sons, wow, Frankie really wants to be in the shot right now. Okay, we're just gonna put her right there. So this is Frankie. All right. So the mother has the one son who's actually a genius, and this genius boy thinks that something's going on next door, and he starts to kind of stick his nose where it doesn't belong. And that's about all I know. I'm definitely gonna watch this movie. It looked interesting. It's one of the movies where it seems to have gotten good critical response, but not good audience response. So we'll see. She's back on the table. So we'll see. And then the last movie coming out is called A Ghost Story, and that stars Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck. And that's a reteaming of the pair. They were in Ain't Them Body Saints, which was a really good movie. I'm not really a fan of Casey Affleck, but I will watch this because of Rooney Mara. I am a big fan of hers. And this is not a typical horror movie at all. So Casey Affleck is Rooney Mara's husband. He dies. She just can't get over the death of her husband, and he stays as a ghost that's literally under a white sheet. And I heard that it's incredibly romantic and different, a very original story, so I really can't wait to see it. All right, that's all we've got for today. I can't wait for Friday. I'm literally like foaming at the mouth to watch this movie. So I hope you guys have a great week. Make it through the week, make it to Friday so that we can all watch Blade Runner, and have a great day. Make it a cinema chic night. Bye guys.